folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Shurina. I'm your host. I'm your Brains Coach. I'm just someone with a lot of obsession, passion, curiosity for for learning all of the brain-body tools from different sciences and experts and research, learning all these tools, applying it to my life, to the lives of my clients, to anyone who I get to work with, who I get to teach, and then sharing all the takeaways, all the practical habits and tools and protocols. So every day you could also start learning and experimenting a little bit more with a purpose to unlock a little bit more or a lot more of your human potential. I think at this point we all agree, folks, that we don't really know where human potential ends, but we are all very passionate about learning. Okay, how far can we go, right? And I think this is the question that doesn't let me and people like myself, probably a lot of you too, this question like, how far can we go? This question doesn't allow us to sleep and keeps us going. Folks, today I'm doing something new. Happy Monday, by the way, new week, new beginning. Hope you have all the juices in you to get after things that you're passionate about, that you care about. So I'm trying something new today, inspired by 5 Bullet Friday newsletter by Tim Ferriss. So today is my 5 Bullet Monday, and what I'm gonna be bringing to you on Mondays for the next, several weeks at least. And let me know if you like that or not. So I'm gonna bring to you 5 bullets, different, pieces of research and studies and sometimes cultural information, like today we're going to have one of those, that will help you to use your brain body better and to learn, again, how to feel, look, and do your absolute best. And you'll understand what I'm talking about in a second. So today I'm bringing to you what I've been reading, discovering, learning over the past weekend from. And I actually have personally set up Google Alerts, like you can do it for absolutely free. And so when you choose a specific topic, like let's say brain nutrition, or peak performance, high performance, whatever that is, you can actually set up Google Alerts. So Google will deliver anything that came out on the internet about this specific topic. And it will again deliver to you those articles. Sometimes it's research, sometimes, it's popular science, sometimes it is whatever. So it's going to deliver to you those most popular pieces of content. And that's how you never miss a thing that you care about, kind of like a personal newsfeed about things that you care about. How cool is that? Huh? So I'm using it fully. And today bringing to you something that I found curious and that I found very interesting and also very practical. Let's start with this article. Don't feel like exercising. It could be your microbiome. This is a Washington Post. And the author is Gretchen Reynolds. She's kind of like a journalist translating a lot of health science into books and articles, etc. So great author. I read a couple of her books. And so the article is about your gut may help motivate you to exercise, or it might nudge you to skip your workout. Which direction you take appears to be influenced by your diet and the health of your microbiome, the name given to the communities of bacteria, viruses, and fungi that live in our intestines. So what they found, and that was in my studies at the moment, they found that first of all, they bred these mice that was exercising naturally a lot. They were just running on those, wheels, and they would naturally run a lot more than other mice. And they bred those mice and they created like a whole bunch of those mice. And they analyzed their microbiome and they compared that to mice that was not that fan of exercise, right? And the microbiome was different. And then they did a bunch of experiments, like killing with antibiotics the microbiome of that exercising mice, and then transplanting that microbiome to the lazy mice. I'm going to call them lazy, even though then nobody calls them lazy. But anyhow, so what they found is microbiome of those exercising mice was different. And when they killed that microbiome with antibiotics, mice didn't want to exercise that much. And also when they put some of that microbiome in the other type of mice, that is lazy mice, those mice decided, well, not decided, I don't know if they decide, but they started to exercise more. And what they found, what the researchers kind of concluded, even though they say there is a lot more research to be done, and also, mice are not exactly humans, so we don't know how exactly it translates to humans. But what they found is microbiome actually has this direct access to our brain through gut-brain axis, and our gut microbiome electrically and biochemically, it actually can communicate really fast with our brain. And so they found that mice that exercised, their brain changed, but then influenced microbiome, and that also in response to that also started to influence the brain again biochemically through different neurotransmitters and other chemicals that the gut microbiome creates on a regular basis. And so they found this connection that the brain and gut communicate, and exercise changes the gut, that then changes the brain and makes you want to exercise more. And then also different foods, of course, change your microbiome, like what you eat, that's the kind of microbiome you're going to have in your gut. And that microbiome will influence the way your brain wants to exercise or doesn't want to exercise. From my personal data, I can attest to you folks, when I used to eat processed food, every time I would eat it, I would feel lazier, like I wouldn't want to exercise all that much. Now that I eat basically zero processed food, meaning junk food, I cook, so that food is also processed. But anyhow, so what I noticed personally, my drive to exercise changed dramatically. Now I cannot imagine a day without exercise. And yes, the exercise itself changes the microbiome, but also what I noticed, food, specifically, junk food or processed food, it's changed dramatically my drive to exercise. And it's not because of calories or because, I felt sluggish. No, I actually felt sometimes pretty fine, but I just didn't want to exercise. And that's the exact thing that they're finding more and more in different research, that microbiome affects our brain a lot, how we feel, what we think, and what decisions we make, like, for example, whether we exercise or not. So really be, careful what you put on your plate, what you do, because that can affect your microbiome, and that will affect how lazy or willing to exercise you are. Now, that bullet number one. Bullet number two, another article, Science Alert, that's a magazine online. Huge new study shows why exercise should be the first choice in treating depression. So I'm going to read to you an extract. The research team extracted, and you, by the way, can find this summary of research all over the internet today, yesterday. It got, quite some traction. So the research team extracted all the eligible studies published prior to 2022 from 12 electronic databases. Overall, they analyzed 97 reviews that included 1,039 trials with more than 119 participants, so human participants. When comparing the effects of exercise to those of usual care across all populations, they found that exercise improved symptoms of depression, anxiety, and psychological distress 1.5 times better than talk therapy or things like cognitive behavior therapy or medication. We also found that all types of physical activity and exercise were beneficial, including aerobic exercise such as walking, resistance training, Pilates, and yoga, says one of the researchers. So what it means, folks, if you are not feeling, like right now, I'm sharing with you personally, I'm going through a lot of challenging stuff in my business and in my life, and it feels like I have to start from, ground zero. That might be a good thing, but sometimes it feels overwhelming, and a lot of doubts, sometimes anxious thoughts. And if I didn't exercise every day, probably that microbiome was helping. I wouldn't feel that good. And I know that when I skipped a day of exercise, I immediately felt worse. And all the data, all the research shows that exercise, movement, it changes chemistry of our brain. It changes our metabolism in our body. It changes so many parameters. And now when looking at the data, it seems that exercise is much better as a therapy for mental emotional well-being than any other therapy or even medications, right? Now, of course, nobody says that you should now, like, if somebody is going through deep depression, should cancel all other treatments, but always exercise, folks. If you're not feeling well, move and you'll feel better. It's a guarantee. At this point, I think it's not questionable. It's a guarantee. Andrew Huberman, our popular neuroscientist, my favorite for sure, he has this saying, something along the lines, if the problem is in the mind, the answer is in the body. If the problem is in the mind, the answer is in the body. And what it means, if you don't feel well mentally and emotionally, move and it will change. So exercise works better than any other therapy, it seems, for emotional and mental well-being. Now, another one about exercise, folks. This is from the magazine Bicycling, and the title was, even exercising just once a month can boost brain health decades later. So what that was all about. Using data from a British study involving 1,417 people born during the same week in 1946, researchers look at their self-reported activity levels, which included a range of pursuits including dancing, hiking, gardening, cycling, and running. They compared those findings to cognitive tests all participants underwent at age 69, including memory function and information processing. They found that activity to any extent, even just once a month, led to higher cognitive function compared to those who were inactive. Those who had been active across every decade in their 50-year time span had the highest cognitive function, but even those who began taking part in physical activity in their 60s showed better function just 10 years later than those who were more sedentary. What it means is, again, just another proof of the fact that exercise changes your brain. It makes your brain work better. And if you are interested in being cognitively functioning instead of senile and forgetting things and having to rely on other people for care and feeling incapable, like if you want to be a capable human being till you die, then you'd better start exercising. Your brain depends on it, a well-functioning brain. Now, bullet point number 4. If you want to improve your brain health, this is the very best food you can eat. A neurologist and brain health dietitian share the top food on their grocery shopping list. And so the top foods, the best way to eat for the brain health in mind is to eat a plant-forward, not totally plant-based, but plant-forward, meaning a lot of plants in your diet by bulk. Diet high in leafy greens, other vegetables, nuts and seeds, berries, beans, and legumes, whole grains, fish, poultry, and olive oil. To be honest, that's the kind of diet I found to be the most nutrient dense. It's been working for me wonders for body weight, fitness, mental acuity, and across all aspects that could be measured. So eating a lot of vegetables, eating your servings of beans. I personally prefer beans over grains because of their nutritional profile. Eating nuts and seeds, berries, and then things like fish and poultry and eggs and high protein dairy products. Another aspect of a brain healthy diet and also for a sharp mind, diet that includes a lot of foods rich in polyphenols. Those are berries, teas, of course, without added sugars, cocoa, meaning like dark chocolate or cacao in all the different forms added, perhaps, I don't know, to your smoothies. Soybeans, legumes, some fruit, vegetables, and herbs. They are rich in polyphenols. Coffee, by the way, also rich in polyphenols. And walnuts are especially beneficial. And let me read to you something about walnuts. Walnuts offer twice as many antioxidants as compared to other nuts, and your brain, folks, loves antioxidants. It like a lot of electrical activity, and you need to protect those brain cells with those antioxidants. Okay, so walnuts also contain alpha-linoleic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. Because of antioxidants of the essential brainy fatty acids, those omega-3, they're linked to less inflammation, less oxidative stress, that all of which helps to prevent cognitive decline. Well, not to completely prevent it, but to slow it down, of course, for many, many decades. Walnuts are also rich in vitamin E, B, omega-3s, all of which show are good for our brain health because of their metabolic functions and antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. So a lot of vegetables, beans, greens, walnuts, fish, also organ meats, eggs, and dairy products. Those are also top of my list. I think most of the articles do not mention them because people would really I think freak out when you tell them one of the most nutrient dense food is actually chicken livers, and people would freak out and never read that article again, probably. But anyhow, folks, so that is the foundation, the basic of a brain healthy diet, and diet for a healthy brain, sharp brain, focused brain, and also happy brain. Plant forward diet, high in leafy greens, vegetables, nuts and seeds, berries, beans, whole grains, fish, poultry, and olive oil. And the last but not least, a cultural piece of brainy news. I was talking to Rich Davini, a retired former, he's a former Navy SEAL commander, a lot of different rewards, and he is the author of the book, The Attributes, 25 Hidden Drivers of Optimal Performance. And so we did podcasts with him, and we released that last Friday, right? And if you remember, on that podcast, he was talking about this aspect of optimal, of high performance, that he called energy management. And what it means is top elite performers, optimal performers who deliver great results without burning out consistently. They know how to manage their energy. And by managing energy, we mean knowing how to go high, but also knowing how to recover and rest and switch between recovery and rest and ready to go, on the fly. But also that means dedicating time to your recovery. And the cultural boost is about different practices, actually 3 practices that they use in Sweden, in Japan, and in Italy. That is like a cultural practice. They even have the word for it. They engaged in it with the whole nation, right? So it's part of their cultural identity. So these practices are about recovery. They allow us naturally to recover, get back to basis, to be able to peak again and go high and perform optimally. So number 1 is from Japan, Shinrin Yoku. Ecotherapy, green time, wilderness cure. Whatever name you hang on it, spending time in nature is a wonderful way to slow down. Actually, research shows, folks, one of the best ways to bring your stress level down almost instantly without you having to think about it. Just get into nature, and that will help you to recover fast, to unwind, and so you could go high and peak whenever you need to. In Japan, spending time in nature is called Shinrin Yoku, translated forest bathing, and Japanese doctors prescribe it to their patients. But even stroll in the park, or walk in a green space, whatever green you can get, it's very helpful, folks. So Shinrin Yoku, forest bathing, one of the cultural practices that allow people to recover and rest. Now to Sweden. Fika, translate as coffee and cake break. Yet it means so much more than that. Fika is a mindset, slowing down, being present, savoring the moment. And what it is about is just being present, like getting your coffee and instead of rushing somewhere, just sitting there, sipping it, savoring it, and observing what's happening around you, just being really present. Or spending time with your family and friends, talking about nothing or about life, but again, just being really present. And fika is a Swedish national tradition, cultural norm, and I think we all can. I think in the Western world we call it mindfulness, in a Western tradition, maybe also Eastern, but it's basically the allowing yourself to just pause and be present. Just be fully present for what you're doing right now. I usually like to do it with my morning coffee. One of the rituals, just take 5 minutes and just drink your coffee and nothing else, right? So fika from Sweden. And the last one is, I think I love the sound of it the best. Dolce far niente. That is from Italian. And in a world terrified of wasting time doing nothing, feels like a crime or a sin, I'm here to say it is neither, because idleness is an art form. It offers sweet relief from the daily grind and the relentless pressure to achieve. And Italians call it il dolce far niente. So basically it's about doing nothing, like really doing nothing. Just sink into the moment and let your mind wander. That's what all dolce far niente is about. And I think a lot of us just forgot how to do that. We often feel like if we do nothing, we are unproductive and we gotta be doing something, and our mind starts going into negative directions. Whereas I think if we just learn, and it's a practice, it's a skill, learning to do that, just learn to enjoy the moment, find joy in whatever it is you are doing. Meaning when it's doing nothing, just, observing life. That's a skill that will, folks, allow you to go far, go without burning out, and move forward no matter what's happening in your life. Like, very often these days, I have to get back to this practice. And it's like, now is enough. You'll move forward. A life always moves things forward when you don't resist it. So just relax, be present for the moment, and do what is coming your way, and sometimes do nothing, and that's also okay. So, and that by the way, this article, these practices are from the website ideas.ted.com. A lot of them are from speakers who did TED Talks, and yep, that's our 5-bullet Monday. So today we talked about how our microbiome can make us lazy or makes us want to exercise. We talked about how exercise seems to be better than talk therapy or even medication for things like anxiety and depression. We talked about minimal exercise, even done once a month, will keep you mentally much sharper than people who do no exercise and very sedentary, and also that it's never late to start exercise to improve your cognitive and function and mental well-being. We talked about the best diet and foods for the brain. Don't forget, especially walnuts. And then we talked about 3 practices from across the globe that help you to stop, recharge, so you could peak again. Because as Rich Davini mentioned on our podcast that we did on Friday, peak performance or optimal performance, he's a fan of optimal performance, is all about managing your energy. And like Navy SEALs oftentimes nap before their critical mission, if you want to be an optimal performer, you'll also need to learn how to switch between relaxing and recovery into ready to go really fast, instead of always being on and like stressed and tense. That doesn't work well for nervous system and optimal performance that lasts. And that's about it, folks. I'm glad that we did this 5-bullet Monday inspired by Tim Ferriss and 5-bullet Friday. Let me know what you think about this episode. If you'd like me to do more of this Mondays, Let me know on Instagram at Angela Brain Body Coach or My Optimized Brain. We are moving all over Instagram, so let me know. Also comment maybe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you find this podcast. You just let me know. And of course, share. If you find this information useful, fascinating, and you'd love more people to learn this, share this podcast in whichever way you can share. Almost any podcast player allows you to share on whatever messenger or social platform you want, right? So thank you, folks, for tuning in. Thank you for paying attention. And as usual, till next time, well, maybe not as usual, but practice something that makes you better. And that's it. Have an awesome week, and you'll hear from me very soon.